Well, it commonly works out this way. Nicholas, Gibbs, and I were just having our entire program in the green room instead of in front of you guys. So I thought we should just bring it on, bring the conversation over to an actual recorded video that we can show the folks. How about that? All
How
right,
about
so
that?
the middle, we'll just take it right in the middle of where we were. And I'm like ecstatic. I'm excited. I'm so enthusiastic. I think Tesla's killing it on everything except unit sales. I think that I think that Trump is killing it worldwide, and that his cabinet is absolutely incredible, and that there's like huge amounts of optimism. We've got a report out from Rasmussen today. 49% of the population think we're going in the right direction. It's never been this high, ever. Anything close to 49% think we're going in the right direction. So that kind of optimism, if you get the public starting to feel that kind of optimism about the entire zeitgeist in the United States, that's pretty impressive and would be an underlying reason why we're heading back towards all-time highs on the S&P.
Was there a question in there?
Well, okay, you would take
I
the.
love how you come in with that after what we were just talking about. I feel like I got set up for failure
I'm just
for
wanting.
being the doomsday guy.
Well, you said you were thinking maybe we were a little past our skis on this reversal. That's it's good, it's all great, but maybe we're a little too fast, a little too far. Or I think that goes the other way, right? Too far, too fast.
Yeah. I I don't think the market is over its skis in the sense of valuations necessarily. Put Tesla to the side. Okay,
Yep.
Tesla's its own beast, but the market in general, I don't. What my concern is, we just had a huge whiplash down. Well, first let's we always forget the good times, right? First, we had a huge whiplash up to all-time highs.
Yes.
And then we had a huge whiplash down. Now I feel like we're having a whiplash up. It's kind of like when you drop a ball, where the the highs aren't as high as they were, and I kind of think that's what's going to happen here, because a few things. One, seasonally, we're just going to a slower time period, and this is in general when the market just goes slower. I think a lot of the good news is pretty much out at this point, and I still think we have some real issues in the economy, the actual economy. Microsoft just announced more layoffs today. We're seeing inflation's coming down, but that also has other implications, because the reason it's coming down is because things are slowing. And the fact that it's slowing at this slow of a pace, despite rates being so high, there's just another risk level there. And I feel like at this point, where before we were one announcement, one post, one something, but whether it's Trump or anyone, we were one news headline from ripping up. We're now one news headline, not from crashing, but from having a little bit of a reality check and just a little sentiment adjustment. So I don't know, like, trust me, no one wants us to go to the moon more than I do. But I just feel like it's when everyone's greedy, that's when I don't want to be greedy. And I feel like everyone's just on cloud nine right now. So look, I was the one buying calls when we were down to lows in the dumps.
Yeah.
And like we talked about before, I unloaded all those today for a lot of profit. Now when everyone's excited, I'm unloading and I'm gonna my calls, and now I'm just gonna kind of feel things out. What I would like to see happen, Randy, if we just myopically go into Tesla, what I would like to see is Tesla come back to 315, 311, and then continue up.
I see.
And
And
I would love to see something like that to be constructive to the market, rather than just this YOLO reaction.
so now Tesla commonly does do these kind of really amazing runs, especially over FOMO, which would be the June event. And at this point, I'm guessing based on some things I'm seeing online that people would like to get another update on that. They'd like to hear another confirmation that it's June 1 or June 5 or that it's still June. Not that they haven't just recently confirmed it, but maybe folks get nervous again that we'll have some kind of a delay. But the market, of course, rarely goes straight up like it's gone from when it was when the S&P was down at what was that, 5,000 roughly, 49 something anyway, and then go all the way back up to these current levels without some kind of a break. So no. That I would 100% agree with you. Probably need a day off or two, but we get the PPI on Thursday, which could come in good, and that's the kind of thing that could keep the rally going. What do you think?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just look, where are we? 1, 2, 3, about 4 days. We've gone from $270 to $337.
Right.
And I get Tesla makes these runs. Yeah, it does. It also gives it back really quick. I would like Tesla not to give it back for once. And so for it to not give it back, we need to be constructive. Otherwise, we end up in the same spot we've been for almost 5 years. So I would like to see it to be a little more constructive. I'd like to see a healthy pullback. I'd like this to stay in this 315 to 350 range. Hell, call it to the end of the month. Mm-hmm. And then move once we actually see Robotaxi news come out, because then that's actually based on something tangible rather than FOMO.
Right.
When FOMO is what we're built on, I feel like it's a house of cards.
So what do you think catapulted the stock today, given that the rest of the market was just flatlining at a very nice level, by the way, but was flatlining, and then all of a sudden Tesla goes up like 4% in a minute? I found a few things, but what did you think?
I don't know. I don't know what actually sent it. I think there's a lot of excitement that's coming into this, not just like Tesla for it to Tesla reasons, but just to the market in general. I think there's a lot of excitement from retail, but I think more of this, more than anything, is everyone was pretty much offsides over all of April. Mm-hmm. And at some point, a lot of these hedge funds, these institutional investors, they have to get back to work. And so I think this is more so positioning, more so than anything else. And now that there's more clarity on tariffs, at least for the next 90 days, people can make money. So I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
I have a new theory. Because I do, right? Because that's what I do. All right. So my new theory, I call it $MUSK or $ELON. And the reason I came up with this theory was because of the conference today in Saudi Arabia. So here was all the top guys, right? You got Palantir is there, and Jensen's there, and David Sachs is there. I mean, all these top AI guys are there. You got the Saudi moderator just loving every minute of it, talking about how great all these guys are and how great Elon is. Elon is on the stage for about 8 minutes, and he talks about the future of robots and the fact that he's just shown the king of Saudi Arabia and the president of the United States the dancing Optimus, which was a pretty good demonstration of flexibility and balance. There's no doubt about that. And I've thought to myself, wait a minute, what if the money that's coming into the market right now that's causing this bump is Saudi money, and not their wealth fund, but rich Saudi princes and captains of industry that are there at the conference, and they're going, you know what, I got to have a piece of this guy.
I think There's a lot of people talking about that online.
Oh, really? I thought I invented it. Man.
Well, not the Musk thing, but just in
Okay.
general, people
Okay.
saying, "Oh, the Saudis are about to invest," but the Saudis have been one of the biggest backers of Elon Musk ventures in
Sure.
general.
100%.
So I don't think there's any newness there. Only, yeah, I hear you. I like what you're saying, but I don't know if I'm buying what you're selling. But I like it.
Okay.
I'll admire it from the street.
So then that got me thinking. So as I thought about the idea, again, you've got the captains of industry of Saudi sitting in the audience. Okay. They've all got their phones. All right. They're listening to all this stuff. Of course, there was a big announcement about NVIDIA. NVIDIA stock went up 6% also. Elon talked about the bot. And I'm not talking about that the Saudis don't already invest a lot of money there, but rather that these would be guys who have more money. They have choices to make with regard to how they are deploying it, and that Elon would have been impressive today, and that they might have done that. But what that did then, it got me to go to another place. There's only one way that Americans, there's only one way that British, there's only one way that Japanese, there's only one way that the average Korean, go around the world. There's only one way that people can invest in Elon Musk. They can't. Most people can't invest in Boring Company, which had a breakthrough today. They can't invest in Starlink, which got an announcement that Saudi Arabia was going to be doing Starlink, and that United Airlines. I mean, I don't know. Have you been on a plane with Starlink yet?
I have not.
It changes the entire travel experience to have automatic. As soon as you get on the plane, you're hooked up. And it goes all the way to the end of the plane. You don't have to think about it. It just works. It's phenomenal. Anyway, but he's going through the things. All these things are having big breakthroughs right now, practically every part of his world. And the only way that people around the world can invest in Elon is Tesla. So that's why I said we need a new symbol. Instead of symbol Tesla, we need $ Elon. And that's what people want to get a piece of whatever that's going to be.
Yeah, there's probably some truth to that. Yeah.
Okay.
But I just feel like people would already be in it at this point.
But
And
there's new announcements. There's new announcements. That's all I'm saying. Lots of new announcements.
look, anybody who is watching that, I think they're already aware of what's going on. It's like okay, strip away like in what I would call the general world, people are struggling. All right, people can't afford houses. Interest rates are high. They can't afford cars. There's not a lot of good jobs, and there's definitely not pay growth really going on. It's hard out there. Like inflation's come down, but we haven't had deflation, and people are still contending with high prices. And that's the real world. And I would say, the majority of those people have no idea that today was such a great day in the markets. Right. They have zero idea. And so my only point is that the people who had been watching what you're talking about, they're also the people that were already aware of Tesla and what's going on. The Robotaxi's about to launch. And at least maybe I'm wrong. Maybe even I'm giving them more credit than what's deserved, which there's probably a really good argument for that, because it still blows my mind that Gary Black thinks that everyone's going to have autonomy tomorrow. So that's kind of wild. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just making your case for you.
Well, so one of the things that I've done my whole career in terms of thinking about markets, whether that's the stock market or whether that's a water bottle market, is that everything takes place in the margins. So therefore, you have a Gary Black who right now says, oh, I think that Tesla's not going to get 90% or 50% or even 25% of the worldwide autonomous ride-hail service. And yet something could trigger him today or tomorrow. He would go, oh, no, I get it. Or, oh, I need to have a bigger piece of the opportunity. Even if I don't quite get it, I probably should have a little bit more invested in the potential for that opportunity. So to me, everything happens in the margins, and it doesn't take much of a marginal shift in the position of buyers to all of a sudden change them to wanting to buy more or buy for the first time. And so that's one possibility. But I'll give you a quote here. Who said this? If Elon Musk was a normal person, he never would have accomplished what he has. He's one of the best business people on earth. The profits of Tesla are on the verge of going through the roof.
Probably someone like Kathy Woods or Ron Barron.
Ron Barron, good job, man. He said that today. So he said that today, and he reiterated his statement that he believes that his stock that he currently owns, that he's already 10x, will go up another 10x. So that also happened today, which could have been something that impacted the market.
Yeah, that could be.
Right.
Ron Barron's been known to move markets, that's for sure.
That's for sure, right? Okay, well, let's turn to the economy unless you have more. Do you have anything more on Tesla specifically today that was on your mind that you've been thinking about?
Well, they released a new FSD update, so that's exciting.
That's right. Yeah.
And the Optimus video was really cool. There's some interesting heel toe changes that we could see there. But no, not really. I don't know. I just get a little paranoid when everyone's you can't
happy.
I don't think you would disagree. Everyone's really happy and jovial right now. Everyone's
yeah, I'm 100%. You've heard me. We've talked about gold, we've talked about bonds, we've talked about oil. Whenever it gets too far out in one direction, even like you're talking about temporarily, even if it's just for a week that it's too high and it needs to have its moment.
Yeah.
I was the one that called for the 10% reversal on the S&P for months before anybody else thought it was going to happen. So I 100% agree with you. All right. So let's talk about the economy. The economy looks like it's poised to go crazy, in my opinion. I've been saying that now for 10 days because I changed my mind. See, I changed my mind in the margin because I started seeing little things that were starting to make me go, we're not going down. This is fine. We're going back. Manufacturers getting surprise phone calls in the United States from people that they hadn't talked to for 3 years saying, I got to buy in the United States now. And all of a sudden their machines are going, full out instead of half time. People not pulling back on their spending, according to MasterCard, Bank of America, et cetera. Seeing the inflation numbers continue to go down and no real evidence of a reason why they would go back up except for tariffs, which is a price increase, not a tariff, not a inflationary factor. But anyway, I've started to get this completely different sense of where the economy was going, and I trusted Trump. I believed that Trump would pull the tariff thing back into something like normal. That combination caused me to go, I think the golden age is closer than we thought. What have you been thinking about in this last 10 days or so?
Yeah, I definitely think the worst is behind us. And I think everything Trump's done is pretty much undeniable. I mean, literally the past weekend was historic. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where you start, whether it's the pharmaceuticals, China progression and conversations, the progress with Ukraine and Russia, the India, Pakistan. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
What a weekend, right? And he probably golfed and he traveled across the world all at the same time. But yeah, I think things are going to be okay. I think there are cracks in the economy in general. It doesn't mean those cracks have to become a real problem, but they're worth keeping an eye out. I think a lot of it really hinges on the next, just call it 6 months, and we can get through the summer. We can get through the summer if the Fed can start to give a little reprieve. I think we'll be fine. If not, I just feel like we're so restrictive, and I think people are like debt still out of hand. You have OEMs struggling. The last thing I want to see is like all of a sudden there being a lot of layoffs that start occurring. And I think that is becoming the biggest fear for the Fed is unemployment.
Right.
And I was just shocked today to see Microsoft's announcement. All right. It's normal for tech companies to do layoffs in the first couple months.
Right.
Announcing this in May?
No, I see.
That's not ordinary. Like that's telling you something.
But do you think it's, several pundits I saw on the Microsoft deal were saying they believed it was AI because the people that they're laying off are middle management. And that even though they didn't announce it that way, that it's probably because they just don't need these people anymore.
Anyone who's saying that it's AI that's causing layoffs, don't listen to them.
Okay.
They're wrong.
Okay.
They're wrong. Middle management in tech industry is getting cut. That's true.
Okay.
It's not because of AI.
Okay.
It's just not. It's just more is being asked from people who are in leadership positions. And look, let's just be honest. Middle management's not revenue generating.
Right.
So if you're not revenue generating, if you're not tied to a product, if you're not on the sales team, if you're not doing something that's tied to revenue, then you're disposable. But it's not AI. It's not. But yeah, I mean, I think there's some signs there. And again, it was very interesting to see Jerome Powell and just in general the Fed talk about this the way I heard it was that they're focusing more on unemployment at this point. It's something that they're more worried about than inflation itself. So, and I know that they're slow to act, and I don't want to poo-poo on them too hard,
right?
Because although I think they were awful, like I think they did a horrible job to fight inflation and transitory all that. I would say up to this point, they haven't really been wrong to wait in the way they've been cutting. Like as much as I want them to cut, they clearly haven't been wrong, because even though we're so restrictive, it's not like inflation has just gone back to 2 or under 2, and we're still so restrictive. So, I mean, that tells you if they were to start cutting, there's a good chance inflation wouldn't have come down as quick or even as slow as we've had. So I don't know. These are just my working thoughts. I don't have anything scripted, so I'm just going off the top of my head.
100%. Why do you think we bring you on? We only won the unscripted, the off the top of your head part of you. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the way I try to think about things. When everyone's going one way, I'm trying to think about like what are they missing, and what's the contrarian view, not just to be contrarian, but what are people missing? And like I said, those cracks are there.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they're a big deal.
Right. So the other leg of the stool, because we know there's 3 legs to the stool rather. We want the tariffs in order to onshore manufacturing and produce some revenue for the United States. People are now saying they think that's going to come in around this 10%, 10% each way type thing with most countries. Then we've got the leg of the stool that is about the tax cuts. And then we got the leg of the stool that is about DOGE cutting, DOGE and other departments now cutting expenses at the federal government. And we're starting to see the results of it. The amount of money that came in the last quarter was more than expected, and the amount of money being spent was less than what was expected in the last quarter. But the piece that still is 100% yet to be finalized is the tax cuts. That was now pushed forward to the next level yesterday. So the tax cuts, if we get the tax cuts done by the end of the month, And Besant said yesterday that they're moving faster than he expected. He was very happy with the speed with which they're moving forward. So by Memorial Day might be possible as opposed to by 4th of July. What do you think?
Yeah, that'd be amazing. You know, part of why I think like Tesla stock's gone up is because we moved off of Elon being this bad Nazi guy to all of a sudden tariffs. Now we're going to focus on tariffs. And so the Elon news started to subside. And now we've moved off of tariffs. And I think we're going to start moving on to taxes and the Trump bill, big, beautiful bill. And I think that's going to be the next boogeyman for the news media.
For the MSNBC.
It's going to be that. Exactly. So I think that story is done. Tariffs, that's coming to its end. And now I think it's going to be this because I don't know what else they would have at this point.
You got nothing left. Yeah. Okay, well, here's a wild hair I had just a little while ago. Another wild hair. It seems to me that the Mag 7 is too limited. I think we should add 3. Mag 10 is kind of cool. Mag 10 instead of Mag 7. So I asked Grok who he thinks we should add, and he had a nice list. He had about 10 different companies that he thought of. After looking through the list and thinking about this myself, I came down to 4, but you might have something outside this 4. He suggested Palantir. I totally agree with Palantir. He said Grok is a he. Broadcom was the second one recommended, Salesforce, and then Netflix. So anybody to add to that list or subtract or
subtract?
If we subtract, huh?
Yeah. All right. First of all, I get what you're saying. So like, I understand, but you can't call it a Mag 10 because the Magnificent 7 is right. It's a playoff word, a playoff of the Magnificent 7. And it's like FANG, right? FANG was an acronym, right? Yeah. So you got to come up with your own thing for the 10. If you're going to go that route.
All right.
You got to get creative.
Yes, that's true.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say that. So you got to work on the branding of this.
Okay.
I actually think the opposite.
Oh.
So I think you don't need to add. I think you need to subtract.
Oh.
So this is how I'm thinking about it. You have what I call ecosystem companies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You've got Amazon.
Right.
Amazon has AWS. They have their retail. They have grocery stores. They've got robotics. They've got the whole delivery business is its own thing. They're doing Kuiper, which is like a Starlink competitor. They've got all these different tentacles.
Uh-huh.
Google, they've got YouTube, Gmail, Chrome. They've got all these tentacles. That's another one.
Right.
Microsoft, they have all these tentacles. That's another one. Tesla, they're building out all their tentacles, mm-hmm. but they have tentacles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I would rather you come up with like an Octopus 4, Octopus 7, whatever, or a tentacle, something like that. And I think those are the companies of the future. Look, Palantir, I see as a one-trick pony.
Oh,
NVIDIA,
really?
I see as a one-trick pony.
Okay.
Facebook, I think is dead. Apple, tentacle company.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
It's the original ecosystem.
Exactly. So if I were to redo a FANG or a Magnificent 7, I would make it purely on companies that have all these different revenue streams that could be their own standalone multi-billion, $100 billion companies.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's interesting. And that's where we're evolving to that a lot of people don't talk about.
Okay. So NVIDIA would fit in that group or not? No, NVIDIA wouldn't. Oh, okay. Because you see them as a one-trick pony.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. Interesting. But
it's like if you ever watch Shark Tank,
yes,
Mr. Wonderful will sometimes say, you have a product, you don't have a company.
Yeah.
So what I differentiate, YouTube could be its own company.
Yes.
Right? NVIDIA, CUDA is not going to be its own company. It's a very important product to make what they do differentiated, but CUDA itself is not the product.
Got it. All right,
Or
interesting.
it's not the company.
Well, I'm glad I brought it up. Okay,
I've actually been thinking about this a lot lately, about what companies are going to stand the test of time, what companies are going to avoid the Sears type of fate. And I think it's these type of companies. These will be the type of companies that are around for hundreds of years, I would say.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's what's been on your mind and my mind. What's been on Elon's mind is he wants to figure out the fastest way to get to a terabyte of compute. Now, I misstated this the other day. I thought he was talking about a terabyte of energy. Obviously, in order to do a terabyte of compute, he's going to need a bajillion amount of energy. so I wasn't far off, but I started all of my conversations and all my stuff online. Everything was about the idea of how to get really fast up to doubling the amount of energy produced in the United States. We need that anyway, and that's why I got confused, is because that's the conversation everywhere has been, how do we go from 1 terabyte of energy production to 2 terabytes of energy production? But anyway, he wants a terabyte of compute.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you when you're going, but he said a terawatt of compute. A terabyte is a measure of storage.
100%.
A terawatt is a measure of power.
That was just an old man mistake there. Okay, so a terawatt of compute. So I have to start over on this whole subject. What do you think about when he says, oh, and then last night Larry said that he thinks that Elon intends to own it all. He's not asking how everybody together can get there. He thinks he wants the entire thing to himself. And somebody did an analysis, and Grok said it would cost $56 trillion.
Yeah, I don't know about that. What I found most interesting was I forget what he said. He said something about how many starships it would take to do it.
Okay.
I think he said it'd take like 10 starships. Maybe he said more than that to create a terawatt of energy.
Okay.
The way I took that was that he's thinking specifically on something that's not battery storage, in a way where he can make his own generators, essentially. That's kind of how I was taking it.
I see. Huh.
Maybe, I don't know. It's just
maybe he was confused because he said specifically a terawatt of compute, but maybe he meant a terawatt of energy.
No, a terawatt of compute makes sense.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because the limiting factor with compute is energy. Yes. Yeah, so it does make sense.
All right, so
I mean, a terabyte of compute also makes sense, to be clear.
Right. Yes.
It's just not impressive. A terabyte. I have a terabyte on my laptop.
Yeah, I remember when we crossed the terabyte line. I'm old enough to remember when you could get a terabyte on a stick for the first time. Okay, so all right, so let's talk about the energy side of it, though, which is the Tesla side of it. Do you think there's a chance, you're saying that maybe Elon's thinking outside the box completely in terms of how to produce energy, but the number one way that everybody talks about in terms of the fastest way to scale is going to be solar plus batteries. He certainly has.
I disagree.
Oh, you don't think it's the fastest way?
No, the fastest way would be nuclear.
The fastest way?
Yeah, I think that'd be the fastest.
Okay. So why do you think nuclear? Most people think we're 5 years away from 3 to 5, say 3 minimum. If all the regulators got out of the way, we're 3 years away from mass producing the little mini nukes. And then, it takes a while to scale. Whereas solar, you could just scale up from where we are now and make a lot of solar.
Yeah, but the thing that people look, Elon talks about the 100 mile by 100 mile solar, right? He talks about that. Okay, why hasn't he done it? There's a reason. Like
Yeah.
it's not that straightforward.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You know, you need to be able to have distribution. So yes, on paper, it makes sense. It can create this amount of power. It's got about most solar panels have 27 to 30% of efficiency, right? So you can do the math and you can figure out how much you need. But even if I have it all in the desert, I now need to get all that transmitted and dispersed across the entire country.
Mhm.
That poses a lot of problems because that's a lot of lines. That's a lot of new infrastructure you have to build out. That's a huge choke point. You actually want everything to be distributed. You don't want any single
Right.
points of failure.
Right.
Like the problem starts to build upon itself.
Mm-hmm.
With nuclear, I think you can get closer to where your problem statement is.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say problem statement, what I mean is, like, in this case, he's talking about for compute, right? You could put a nuclear facility right next to wherever your data center is.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You're not going to put that many solar panels right next to your data center, right? So the surface area in relation to your problem statement, I think, becomes a really big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And now solar makes a lot of sense if we're talking about for solving the problem with houses.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should almost be law that every new house being built should have solar panels, like, by default. Like, and that's, again, distributed. The solar panels are at the problem statement, which would be each house, right? So you don't have this issue.
Mm-hmm.
So it's anyway. So to me, nuclear is going to be the way forward for a lot of this.
Well, by the way, I'm sure you know I'm a huge fan of the little mini nukes. I was shocked that it didn't become a thing 30 years ago when they first started talking about it. My dad, I think you know, was in that business. I mean, he was in the transformer, he was an employee in the transformer world. And so when those things were first announced, I was like, why wouldn't we do this? It just seems so sensible. Okay, so let's go back to the economy, back to the markets, and then we'll go to the numbers. So we've had this massive run up. We've passed some technical hurdles in the S&P. We've passed a lot of technical hurdles on Tesla. But in order for us to get back to all-time high on Tesla, we still have 45% more to go. And my PT is for the end of this month. So we have to get there. And my way of getting there, I think we talked about it last week, is about half from Tesla enthusiasm and half from the overall macro. So far, until today, almost all the advance was coming from the macro, but for the first time, we got 4.5% from Tesla enthusiasm. So am I completely nuts, or we still have a shot?
By when?
End of the month. Another 45%.
I mean, I think you're nuts, but but we also just went in 4 days from 70 to 270 to 340.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a $70 move. So if we throw that on top of where we are right now, that would put us at 400.
Right.
So that's another, say you do that another 4 days, and you have another 4 days.
Yeah.
You could get there in about 8 days, Randy. Throw in 2 days for the weekend. Can't skip that. So 10 days. We're only on the 13th.
Yeah.
Dude, you're gonna have days
left over, right?
Yeah. What are you gonna do with all that extra time?
Now, I did relax my number just a tiny bit. I said, would the people who are following the channel be willing to give me 2 extra weeks into May as buffer? And they seem to feel generally that was okay, which would allow
into June?
I say May. I meant June. So that would allow some robotaxis to actually be on the road, beginning to see some stuff. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, just between us.
Yeah, just
between us girls.
Nobody's listening.
No. Would you rather, like let's say we had like $1,000 on the table
Yep. Yep.
for your prediction to be right. You get the $1,000 if you can be right, and I'll let you make your adjustment. Like
Yep.
we don't know if you're gonna hit it. You might hit it. You might have just a miracle run here.
Yeah.
We've already been on a miracle run.
Right.
But I tell you, hey, Randy, I'll give you your 2 weeks, or I will let you take $100 off of your price prediction by the end of the month.
PT.
Which one would you choose?
Well, the cool thing is if I was conservative and took your suggestion, took $100 off my number and said we'll only be at 388 by the end of the month, or by the end of the month, that I obviously I think I have a bigger chance of making it, but I'll look so much more brilliant if I turn out to be right about June 15th.
Or foolish.
Or more foolish. Yeah.
If we hit 388.
Yeah, whichever. Yeah, whichever. So, all right. So, and now you maybe forget how I had a follow-up for that.
That's a good would you rather though.
Yeah.
You know, okay. It's like it's right there on the cusp.
So here is my reason for believing it could happen. I happen to believe that the Robotaxi rollout will be the introduction in history, the biggest product introduction in history. This will be the most important, more important than the iPhone, more important than the wheel, more important than the Model T, more important than steel, or the phone, the telephone. By you take any of these inventions or these services that have been come out in our lifetime or in in all of time, and I think this will be the number one product that's ever been introduced in terms of the potential for revenue and profits. So therefore, if I'm even close to being right, and I think I'm not alone in thinking this, I think Elon thinks it, I think that Cathie Wood thinks it, then smart investors, as we get closer to the date, would be piling on.
Here's something I've been thinking a lot about.
Okay.
I'm trying to. It's hard to like look at yourself and be like, how am I wrong? It's really hard. And I've always thought that when they launch Robotaxis, that it would be like this big moment.
Mm-hmm.
But, when they launched the iPhone, it wasn't a big moment at all. People didn't even understand what was happening. They didn't even understand the implications.
Right.
We don't even know if Tesla's going to have an event for this.
Right.
I mean, you would think they would, right? I mean, you need the shareholder meeting. We've got these new vehicles supposed to be launched. You're doing this Robotaxi thing. Like, you kind of think, hey, wrap it all in one package.
Yeah.
That's what you would think. We'll see. We haven't heard anything. There's no invites going out. Nothing to sign up. And we're halfway through the month. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe in 2 days. But I almost wonder, are they just going to quietly launch this? Like they're just going to post on X?
It started.
Congratulations, Tesla team, that it started, whatever. Our first rides, and it's like, who gets access to it? Like, is it you're going to start it, but it's still going to be Tesla employees first? Which, if you think about it, that's probably what will happen. Right?
Yeah. Good. Yeah. 100%.
So So how long till we open this up to the public? Like, what are the stats behind this? Like, give us some information. And they might be light on the information at first.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, which one's more likely to happen? Because I won't lie to you. The last announcement I got really excited about was the Cybertruck launch.
Right.
And that was kind of underwhelming. I was like, I mean, I always want more. So, like, part of that's on me. But, like, they couldn't even put a light on Elon's face, right? He was, like, in the shadow for half of it.
But pull back to first principles. What needs to happen, even if it's only employees on that first day?
Well,
What
first
needs
principles, we don't need an event at all.
Okay, first, yeah, I said don't need an event. Okay, so let's say we take your worst case scenario. No fanfare, no nothing. The only announcement is that employees will be able to get rides on June 1st. And so employees are riding around in these things on June 1st. What needs to happen on June 1st?
Nothing.
No accidents, no stalls in the middle of intersections, no emergency vehicles that can't get around it. I mean, no major hiccups, right? And that's
Yeah.
the same thing that needs to happen on day 2, day 3. And then if the public's invited by day 4 or day 5, whatever, however that rolls out, if it rolls out really, really, really in a soft way, as you're pointing out, all it really needs to happen is that nobody gets hurt, no really major negative headlines, and that there's, and that people are coming and they want to ride. I don't think we have any problem getting people to ride. There's going to be people driving in, flying in from all over the United States that are going to want that front line. I already know these people. They're
No,
already planning to be there.
I agree with you that demand won't be a problem.
Right, right.
It'll be scaling. I think scaling is going to be the problem. And problem is not the right word.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it'll be, we want it to be in at least 7 states, 6 cities by the end.
Of the
Yeah, listen to that math. 7 states, 6 cities. Yeah, great job, Nick. But you get my point, right? Like we want it to be yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably not going to be the case. I think it'll probably be I think it'll probably take a year for them to iron out how they go from city to city to figure it out. And I think by after 1 year, they'll kind of have a system and you'll start to see it go faster and faster. And we'll look back and be like, oh my God, they did that so fast. But in this moment, I think the sentiment, we're going to feel like, oh my God, this is so slow. When are they going to announce? We haven't heard anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's what's going to happen. But we're going to look back and be like, oh my God, they literally in 1 year went to all these cities. And year 2, they tripled it.
Right.
And like year 3, it's like, I think it'll be like that.
All right. So coming back to my original idea anyway, is that I think that the watchers, the people who are watching it happen, if it is a
Us.
completely us, no, but the rest of, believe me, there's plenty of people on Wall Street that know this is happening, even if they're not invested yet, or even if they're lightly invested, they're paying attention to this rollout. I believe.
$70 in 4 days would say
Yeah,
you're
I would
correct.
suggest that it's possible.
At least some of that is excitement for this. It's not all just the macro.
Right, exactly.
All
right, so we'll see. I think that if it works well and they start to add vehicles and there's consumers riding in the vehicles and that all takes place over the first 10 days, 2 weeks, I think whatever FOMO hasn't already come will come. But I think it could go the opposite way. They could invite Governor Abbott. They could, have some fanfare. Elon could be there, take the mic, blah, blah, blah. Maybe the president comes. Who knows? He could get the POTUS there, probably. He probably could. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure he could.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, President Trump, we'd like you to be there for this. The number one, product in history is going to roll out. So, there's possibility here for tremendous PR. By the way, if you do that, Elon, if you hadn't thought of that until just now, I get credit. Okay. All right. So anyway, but if it's a really big rollout, you still have all the same problems, is all I'm saying. If you have a really big rollout, it still needs to go out and not get stuck in any intersections and not interfere with emergency vehicles, et cetera, in order for people to go, okay, it's happening. We're there. But once it's there, once people feel like, no, he's done it. Holy cow, right?
I don't disagree with you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the markets.
Let's go.
Let's find out what Tesla is doing after hours, after going up 4.93% in the regular time. It's down 0.24% in the after.
Nothing.
So far. Oh,
nothing.
It's what?
It's nothing.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Everything's flat right now, looks like.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see a down day tomorrow unless there's some more news that keeps it going. But I would think a relaxed day tomorrow would be a really
I would put money on it.
okay. You probably have.
No, actually, I'm very light on anything Tesla options wise. Um, I'm it's just there's nothing interesting right now option wise for Tesla.
Got it.
Um, we've moved up a lot. Volatility's been sucked out of it, so option like is even selling options isn't worth it right now.
Right.
So right now I'm on the sideline. We'll see what happens though. I need to get some volatility pumped back into these, make these premiums a little juicier.
Little juicier. Okay. So we've got the bonds finally taking a breather, down 2.8 basis points in the pre-market to 4.471. I've stated three times on my program already. I'm going to state it again. We've already seen the highs on bonds, or the highs in terms of yield. This is, has to go down. There's nothing. I can't imagine what's holding it up. I did mention one thing earlier, and that is bonds could be high because the bond market is starting to see that the golden age is coming, and that maybe the golden age itself could be inflationary.
That's an interesting take. I don't have an opinion right now.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on with the bond market. It's I would say in general I agree with you. Um, Something feels disconnected to me
It
when
is.
it comes to
It's
yeah.
100% disconnected. Yeah, there's no doubt.
Okay.
All right, we agree on that, 100%.
Yeah.
Oil off a little bit after a 3-day run, but everybody agrees that oil is up because the world economy is doing better than they thought it was going to be doing a week ago.
Perception, correct. Yeah.
Perception.
Well, I would also say potential peace around the
Right,
world
right.
also.
Yeah, but sometimes, so the peace would also increase prosperity.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know a lot of times people think, oh, oil goes up because of conflict,
Right, right.
but when you can have ships moving through the Red Sea without
Right.
any problem, through the wow, I'm
Suez Canal?
Suez Canal. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Uh, and you potentially, have more trade partners when it comes to oil. Like, I think it's kind of it's not what you would normally expect.
Right.
Normally, you think it only goes up during conflict or a hurricane coming or something like that. But I think right now you're spot on that the uptick is due to the thought that the world economy might get a boost and we're not going to have a big contraction. So,
So carrying out the last thing I said a few minutes ago about the bond market, natural gas was one of the things that kept us from having a better CPI report this morning. So oil was down, gasoline was down, but natural gas and electricity were up. And that would go to what I think is happening with the tariff thing. And I think you would agree with this, that the president is going around the world saying, you got to buy more natural gas from us. And we're going to be shipping so much natural gas out of our small number of ports, but we're going to be building that new port up in Alaska and shipping a huge amounts of natural gas to the Pacific side of the world. And natural gas is just going to become a very, very big business, which could drive prices even higher than now.
I hope not. I'm between natural gas and propane for my house. So,
Okay. So you're worried about your gas bill. All right, sure. Okay. So you did say that you're a penny pincher. So I don't know. I didn't know.
oh,
I
I'm a
didn't know.
real big money pincher.
Okay. The gold market has finally stopped. It's up $9, 3,256. So you think Larry said last night that he thinks gold is done. that the dollar will be king based on the new set, the reset, and the gold will go down as a result?
I was watching you guys
Okay.
and I was listening to Wise Man Larry. I don't know if I agree. I Gold has been going up relentlessly.
Yes, you know this.
I think gold is going up not because of tariffs, not because of uncertainty with Trump and all this stuff. I think gold's been going up because there's a fear of debt in the world. My take. I don't think it has anything to do with anything else. I think Bitcoin's up because we're moving towards a risk on market, and Bitcoin's a good play for that, but also because of the same thing going on with gold. And that's why it's been like the quietest rally for Bitcoin. So I hear what Wise Man Larry is saying. I'm trying to make that stick, by the way. I don't know if I agree with this point he's making. What's your take? Like, do you agree with him, or do you?
So what I've been paying attention to has been the amount of gold that's being purchased by China, Japan, some other sovereign countries, Turkey, United States, and also by consumers in some
Costco.
South Korean consumers, Chinese consumers, American consumers buying up a lot of gold. Individuals buying actual physical gold at Costco, etc. So there's been this move. I think it's played out. I think it's too high. It's another one of those ones where the risk reward ratio right now seems to me to be the risk of going higher is less than the risk of going lower at this point. That's how I would see it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're aligned.
The risk of it going higher. No, I'm saying I don't think it. I think that to go up 10% at this point for gold has a less likelihood than going down 10%.
Oh, but you said the risk of going higher.
I know, but I'm probably trying to use some kind of funny, stilted technical language where there's this risk of upward movement. Never mind. Don't let me get trapped in stupid language.
Okay, so you're not aligned with me. You're
I'm not
against
aligned with
me.
you. I'm more aligned with Larry and probably for different reasons. I always hate it when something goes up and up and up and up, and finally there's got to be a limit. That's kind of where I am on gold. And I think that because it's been so consumer driven and so sovereign wealth fund driven, I think that that's going to be part of the reason why it's going to run out of steam. If it was being driven by some of the issues that you just brought up that gold is usually considered for, like protecting your assets in troubled times or et cetera, then I think it would have more room to run. But I don't think that's going to be the case anymore.
All right. Well, it's up in aftermarket, so
Yeah, a little bit, a tad,
yeah.
a tad, yes. But
Just saying.
you did mention the Bitcoin, which is up a lot today. So 2,200 points, 104,000, almost exactly. So that would be going along with your theory that people are definitely going. I think I like your risk on analysis of that, but there's got to be more to it than that. There's got to be an underlying that foundational fundamental idea of Bitcoin, right?
I mean, I think those people are already in it. So I don't know. It's who knows
Who
with any
knows?
of this. It's look, at the end of the day, I don't try to beat the market. I want the market to beat me.
Okay.
So that's how I look at it. I don't know what's gonna do. I'm a simpleton. When things go up a lot, probably time for them to come down.
There you go.
And my whole argument with Tesla right now is that we've gone up a lot in a very short time.
50%.
Gold Yeah, gold was doing the same thing, but gold at least took a breather recently.
Yeah, right.
And so that's so I hear you. What I'm saying is like
Yeah,
you were
yeah, yeah.
saying just the same thing about gold.
Right.
You could say it's about a lot of things actually.
But the
Like if you
reason
look
I'm
at
saying, yeah, but the reason I'm on the other side of that on Tesla is because the number one product introduction in the history of the world. That's
I
a
know,
big difference.
but everyone knows that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think the news is baked in.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. So that's where the difference is. And that's what makes a market.
It
So
is.
speaking of making a
We'll find
market,
it.
speaking of making a market, tomorrow's equity markets are flat. I'm not even going to go through the three of them because you know, they're the opposite of today and they're flat and there's hardly anything going on. So, so a flat day tomorrow, flat to down.
Well, let's hold on. Let's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
look real quick.
yeah, yeah.
Let's look at the. Okay, sorry. I just want to look at what the future minis are doing.
Okay. Interesting. There's
Um,
also no economic reports tomorrow.
isn't there
Fed
uh
chairman, Fed.
isn't there like same stores or something spending
I don't know. On
merchandise?
I use Market Watch and they're showing nothing for tomorrow. So that's all
Like,
I've seen.
yeah,
The PPI is
yeah.
on Thursday.
Looks like it might be a quiet day.
That's well, one might suspect, although with Trump still in the Middle East and the suggestions that he might stop in Turkey on the way home and meet with Putin and Zelensky. That's the rumor.
That's on Thursday, right?
I think it's Thursday. Yeah. Yeah.
That that would be a big one.
That would be a big one. All
Could
right.
you imagine like that? You would be you just uh, that would have to be the greatest first year of any president in history,
Yeah.
at least in modern day history.
Maybe the greatest term of any president in history,
Yeah,
compressed into 150 days or something. So
yeah.
we'll see what happens with that. By the way, I would have loved to have gotten into the pharmaceutical thing with you, but maybe we'll do that next week. We'll
Are
have
you talking about UNH, or
huh?
are you talking about
uh,
UNH, or are you talking about the prescription?
the prescription drugs, but there was a
Oh,
separate announcement by the president, I guess, that he wants the middlemen out, that that's part of the
yeah.
deal. Yeah. So, so that was pretty wild. Okay, all right. Last final word, even a possible word of wisdom, you know.
Um. Sorry. Well, all right. What I was going to say that I thought about not saying, but I'll say it. I was just going to say, don't listen to me. Don't listen to Randy. Listen to no one. Trust no one. But you got to do something. That's my advice.
Here you go. I like it. I won't say anything. I'll just leave that there for everybody to contemplate. And then someday maybe they'll be calling you Wise Nick.
I hope you live to see the day, Randy.
All right. Thanks as always, Nicholas Gibbs, for coming on, and to all of you out there. It has been great talking to you.